Hi, everyone. We are going to do a little bit more with the French and Indian War today. And so we are going to go through this reading, and then there are some questions on this foldable that you are going to complete afterwards. So, first, we are going to read this through together. If you would like, most of you should either have printed this off or you have this at home with you. So, the French and Indian War. England and France both had extensive land claims in North America. That means just lots of land that was theirs, that they claimed as theirs in North America. Both countries claimed the Ohio Valley Territory as their own, or the Ohio River Valley. They both thought, that's mine. In the 1750s, the French sent troops to occupy the Ohio Valley. They built several forts west of the Appalachian Mountains to show that they planned to remain in the Ohio Valley to protect their land. One of the most famous forts was called Fort Duquesne. A young George Washington, who was a colonel in the British Army, led 150 British militiamen, or men that were fighting in the war, to capture Fort Duquesne. Washington and his men were outnumbered and soon defeated by the French. The French sent Washington and his men back to British commanders with a message that the Ohio Valley belonged to the French. Seems kind of crazy. I feel like I'm talking about a soap opera or something. The British didn't give up easily, though. They returned to Fort Duquesne with more troops. The British, as was their custom, they marched in straight lines with much noise and fanfare. So they probably were walking in those long lines, playing drums, shouting, letting the French know that they were coming. The French and their Indian allies hid behind rocks and trees. They fired on the British troops from behind their hiding places. The British were again defeated. The British did have some assistance from Native American groups. Even though most of the Native Americans sided with the French, some decided to side with the British. They weren't completely all on one side. However, this assistance was not enough to help them defeat the French right away. The British continued to fight for the French, but mostly to the north in Canada. So a lot of fighting was going on in Canada. The French were finally defeated and signed the Treaty of Paris in 1763. In this treaty, the French surrendered or gave up all of their land claims in North America. So with the British won, the French had to leave, and the Indians were kind of left with, okay, what do we do now? The British are going to come invade this territory. So this picture shows where the Ohio River Valley is, right along here. So this was where they both wanted. So again, I did link this paper on the Week at a Glance, so you can print it out if you would like. If you're unable to do that and need me to get it to you some other way, just dojo me. I can absolutely do that, or comment something on Google Classroom. But for these questions, it is a foldable. If you want to cut out the foldable along these lines, you for sure can, and then you're just taking each of these flaps and folding them in so they cover this middle part. If you would just rather write the answer and then that be it, you can do that too. So if you do choose to cut it out, you can cut it all out, put glue on the back of this middle part, and just glue it onto a different piece of paper and then fold it all up, if that makes sense. So the first little box, name the groups that were fighting on each side of the French and Indian War. So who was fighting? Over here, what was the purpose of fighting the French and Indian War? Why? What was the whole reason that the war was fought? Down here, describe the fighting styles of the participants in the war. So how did the British fight compared to how the French and Indians fought? And then this is a two-parter. Who won the French and Indian War? And then what were the results of this war? So what did the Treaty of Paris say? What did everyone do once the war was over? All right, that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me over Dojo, phone call, comments on Google Classroom. I am here to help you. All right, see you guys.